Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cartoon Boom. This is a show where we wake up with a Saturday morning sun, popped on the floor with a big bowl of sugar is here, and watch our favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
And I'm a cockroach that plays the drums. My name's Chris.
And this morning, we watched The Beatles.
The Beatles.
So, stepping back to the cockroach comment, are you considering a cockroach a beetle?
I mean, it's close enough. It's got legs and it's got wings and it's a bug.
No, but it's not. They're not the same thing.
It's a bug. It's got stuff. It's got bug-like features.
Beetles have shells.
Cockroaches have shell-like things. They got the exoskeleton stuff.
You might as well have just said like, oh, hey, I'm a caterpillar on a drum. That would have made as much sense. I'm a caterpillar on bass.
Whatever. I mean, they're similar shapes. They got similar amounts of legs, and they do similar things. They scurry about, and they get annoying when you find them in your house. So, there you go.
You could have said a weevil. You could have said, what are other beetles? You could have said a ladybug. You could have said, I don't know. There's a lot of different beetles you could have named. You could have said a stag. I don't know. There's a ton.
A stag is a deer.
Well, a stag beetle is a beetle, so
I feel like now you're just making them up.
I'm not. It exists. It's the one with the big horn on it, I think.
Soon you're gonna be like, oh, like an elephant. You could have been an elephant. I'm like, no, it's not.
There could be an elephant beetle. I don't know for sure.
Soon you'll be telling me there's such thing as my name's Hercules. There's a Hercules beetle. Or something.
Now that I'm pretty positive there are, but I'm no beetle scientist, but I'm pretty sure some of these exist. So who suggested this to us?
Well, funny how the world works sometimes when
oh no.
You get brain injuries and then you don't know anything anymore and you don't know who suggested anything or where you put that information at least. Maybe you did know at one point, but that's lost to us. So it's lost to the annals of time, You know
what? Now that you are still recovering from your concussion, you can use that same excuse that I can with the brain injury, and that's fine. Yeah. It's acceptable now.
Only my thing is I'm going to use this forever, past the point of when I should be
concussions.
Healed. Yeah. Yeah. Like years from now, I'll be like, oh, I'm still recovering, man. I just don't know.
I mean, technically, there can be permanent damage from concussions, so here's hoping that's not the case, but you can always say it is.
I know. I started therapy to figure out if there is, so we're going to see.
Oh, really? Good.
Yeah, I just did. I just went yesterday.
Well, fingers crossed, that's not the case.
Yeah.
So basically, you don't know who suggested this.
No.
We'll blame the concussion. We'll blame just the world. I don't know.
Yeah, blame the state of the world for this.
We'll blame cockroaches. We'll blame all non-beetle insects.
Yeah, all those fake ones that you mentioned.
Yeah, sure. So the show The Beatles aired from 1965 to 1969, nice. Based on the band The Beatles, obviously. I knew you were going to say nice after that. I knew it. Created by Al Brodax and Sylvan Buck. Produced by Kingfisher Syndicate. It sounds like a gang. Artanza and Graphique. Kenna West Studios and TVC London. This aired for 3 seasons, 39 episodes. And there were basically multiply that by 4 because there's 2 segments and then 2 sing-along segments in between, if you want to count those. This originally aired on ABC in the USA, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, which I guess is also ABC, but a different ABC in Australia, and then ITV in United Kingdom. For a short synopsis, actually, this short synopsis was written by Kenneth Chisholm. He's back.
The algorithm returns.
In POG form. This is the weirdest one he's written yet. Follow the cartoon adventures of the greatest of the rock bands as the Fab Four get themselves into the strangest situations that always end with one of their songs being played. In addition, the band also features sing-along segments that have simpler animation as the lyrics are displayed on screen. Kenneth Chisholm.
The algorithm, everyone.
The algorithm.
There we go.
Doesn't that sound robotic this time? He's getting worse.
He's definitely showing his colors. Yeah, he's showing his binary for sure.
Yeah. Your binary's showing.
Yeah, some of his codings right there.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I mean it's spot on. It was a weird way to say it, but I mean it's true. It's the band getting up to antics and lots of their music playing while it happens. So
Right. Yeah. He's not wrong, but that's not how a human would have said it, is
No.
what we're saying.
Yeah, exactly. That's how flesh and blood, they would have said it differently. Yeah.
Yeah. So who are some of the actors who played in this show?
Well, I can tell you that when it comes to the Beatles, like the music and stuff, they were done by the Beatles. So that music, those voices were the Beatles. But then when it comes to the actual, like the goofy stuff, when it comes to, the skits and whatever, both John Lennon and George Harrison were voiced by Paul Frees, who has been an announcer in tons of shows throughout his career. And I'm talking like he's been an announcer in like dramas, in game show kind of things, but also in like cartoons themselves. Like he was like the announcer in like George of the Jungle and things like that. He was also the voice of Morocco Mole in Secret Squirrel. And is it Mabrook in The Last Unicorn? I've never seen The Last Unicorn, but is it Mabrook? Mabrook, one of those.
I can't remember honestly, but I know who you're talking about.
However, that said, that was also him. And then literally the only other person credited in this cartoon. So the voices of Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr, done by Lance Percival, who hasn't really had a lot of other stuff in the animation industry. But I did want to mention that he did also appear in the Beatles' Yellow Submarine as Old Fred. So yeah,
nice.
The voice of Old Fred.
Old Fred.
There you go. That's the cast. Ta-da!
Oh man, I actually saw that or heard that the cast was, well, those two people, I guess, were cast like 6 weeks before the show actually started. So they didn't have like much time to prep or anything for it. So it makes sense, I guess. So wait. So stepping back, you're saying that two people voiced all four of them? They just voiced two each?
Yes.
Basically? Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense.
That's how they did it.
So here's a few tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Beetle cereal.
Oh, that sounds like something Beetlejuice would get down on.
It kind of sounds like it would tie more into our Timon and Pumbaa episode that we just did.
That's a good point.
So the series became notorious for its static visual style, with the Beatles being depicted in their mop top and suit look from A Hard Day's Night, the movie from 1964, despite the fact that the band had abandoned that look while the series was in production. So, that's a good point, because the Beatles go through a lot of different changes over the years, and this is just a static look that they keep the entire time, for better or for worse. For simplicity's sake, I get it, but at the same time, like, they're constantly evolving, and the 3 seasons of this show, they're always the same.
It'd be hard to capture that in, like, I don't know. I think cartoon format that was aimed at, I'm assuming, well, I guess this was aimed at an audience for, like, anybody, really. But like for kids' sakes and stuff like that, it might be weird if all of a sudden they're dressed very different and they have facial hair, and one of them all of a sudden has glasses, and like the kids would probably be like, "Hey, I don't know who that is." All of a sudden, what?
Yeah,
that isn't John. What?
That's not my Beatles.
Yeah.
I guess at the very least, or at most, they could have done maybe like per season, maybe slightly different looks, and maybe talked about it a little bit in each episode. But the episodes are so short, I guess they really didn't have time they wouldn't have had time to do all that.
And it's not like these episodes followed a real story,
True. There's no cohesion between them.
No, not at all. So the fact that there is no canon, there's no thoroughfare from episode to episode, I don't think it really matters. And I like the classic Beatle look for the characters. I think that's fun. Aside from the fact that I barely could ever tell Paul and George apart during any action scene. So
true, yeah, their models did look fairly similar when they were in movement.
It's like when their faces were animated and like they didn't have their default resting face, then I couldn't tell the difference between them, because the differences were really in the shape of their mouths and their eyes. But if they were both talking and their eyes were very animated and their mouths were animated, then I'm like, wow, I have no idea who's who.
So after the end of the series, Al Brodax and George Dunning would continue with Beatles animation by creating the one you were talking about, the animated feature Yellow Submarine. And I want to bring this up, and we've mentioned it before on the episodes that we covered these, I believe. But in the Yellow Submarine, you've got the Blue Meanie as the primary antagonist, And he is the inspiration for both him from the Powerpuff Girls and the Grumble from Real Monsters. So I just need to bring that up. That cartoon has been very influential, and it's a very cool movie, actually, Yellow Submarine.
There's also a wrestler named the Blue Meanie.
Oh, very true. Yeah. He was in ECW, and then I'm assuming in WWE at some point. I don't know that he still wrestles at all, but I remember him.
I think he does. I'm not sure, but I think he does. I don't know.
So this series was a historical milestone as the first weekly television series to feature animated versions of real living people.
That's really interesting, actually.
Yeah, I didn't fact check this, but I got it from Wikipedia, and they did have a reference to a different interviewer, different article that had mentioned it as well. So I'm just going based off that. If someone can prove that wrong, please let me know. But if that is true, then that is really interesting. And it was a legit Saturday morning cartoon for kids. So that's really cool.
That is really cool, because that really would have paved the way for things like, I think of stuff like, well, I don't want to say Pro Stars, but to be fair, it does. But I was thinking of along the lines of they have a lot of cameo appearances and things like Animaniacs. They were always animating real life people and stuff as gags. And so that's pretty interesting.
And so I guess here's where I want to differentiate. Because it specifies weekly television series, I think there were, for instance, I remember Beanie and Cecil having animated versions of themselves, but it wasn't part of a series. That was maybe part of a short part of their weekly live action series. Maybe you see their animation. So I want to differentiate that to make sure we're clear.
Got it. Yeah. But hey, Joseph? Did you know that John Lennon once said he had an encounter with 4 strange bug-eyed creatures in the middle of the night, who he got miffed at for not wanting his autograph? Yeah, did you know about that?
I didn't know if you were joking or not. Is that something he actually said?
He really did say that. And he told this tale about his paranormal encounter to a man named Uri Geller, who is an actual, and this is real, guys. This is real. This is documented. Uri Geller is someone he was a guy that the CIA studied in 1973 to determine if he had paranormal abilities as a part of Project Stargate. They were doing that with multiple people, and Uri Geller was the most famous one that the studies, there's a lot of information about him in particular. You might be thinking, where is Chris going with all of this?
I feel like I know, but please, go on.
A Little Spooky Podcast.
I knew it.
One of our other podcasts on Nerdsloth, nerdsloth.com. A Little Spooky Podcast, which does cover Uri Geller and Project Stargate and lots of other alien encounters, and now has their new Aliens exclamation merch available in the store, along with our April sticker of the month, which is a ticket for the Night Marathon Theater. So head over to nerdsloth.com, click on the merch link, and probe the new items in the store.
Oh boy. So let's go ahead and jump into the episodes we watched for today's show. The very first one being Hard Day's Night, Season 1, Episode 1A. And this one, oh man, so these are some really crazy episodes. Don't feel like it's going to make any kind of sense or, like we said, have any kind of canon. Just accept it for what it is. Because in this one, the Beatles are in Transylvania rehearsing in a haunted house with monstrous visitors, including a vampire, a ghost, a werewolf, and a witch, with a parody of Boris Karloff. And that would be the Frankenstein's monster was a parody of Boris Karloff.
Yeah, how it starts is they're practicing, I guess, just in somebody's house, and I don't know why.
I was thinking it was maybe a pub or something, or a local, but I don't know. It was just somewhere where a lot of villagers were gathered.
I didn't think so, because when I picture a pub, I don't picture wallpaper and stuff. This just looked like somebody's living room, And there's children. There's a lot of children present.
It was a family pub.
I guess. Here, we got root beer for the youngins. Get your sarsaparilla. But all these people wouldn't leave them alone, kept interfering with everything, which there's a lot of gags in this show. But the gag that made me laugh the most was really early on. And it was this one, where Ringo's drum starts sounding weird and he shakes it and this little kid falls out of it.
Yeah.
That I thought was pretty funny. So they're miffed. They're blinking. They do say blinking a lot. They're blinking miffed that they can't get in the amount of practice that they need because of all the interference. And then I believe it's John that was just like, "Oh, I've got a place for us."
No, that was Ringo.
It was somebody.
Because we need to note this because they treat Ringo like like an idiot in this.
Ringo's the joke of the
he's a joke because he says, "I know a perfect place. It's big and it's empty." And Paul's like, "Yeah, it sounds fine, but how do we all fit inside your head?" Like everybody is always riffing on Ringo.
Everyone hates Ringo. That's true. Everyone in the world. Let's be honest.
No.
Peace and love, peace and love. No autographs, peace and love. Anyway, so they go to this haunted castle and decide that maybe this would be a good place. But then this grave opens up and then the caretaker comes out who looks like a big old zombie dude. Like this is the Boris Karloff, Frankenstein's monster looking dude.
It's not. The Frankenstein monster.
He's one of many Frankenstein-ish looking dudes in this episode.
He was just a zombie to me. I don't know. I mean, it's crude. It's pretty crudely animated, so that's just my interpretation.
Yes. He was a big dude that was zombie-like, a large zombie-like man with a scar on his forehead.
Yes.
Who talked like this. So there. And he let them go in because he's like, the place could use like what? It's just not lively as it used to be or something.
Yeah, exactly. Could use a bit of livening up or something like that.
I'm poking you in the ribs with my elbow.
They start playing throughout the episode because of the episode title. They're trying to play Hard Day's Night. And so we'll get little bits and pieces of it. And so they finally go in there and start playing the full song. And this is during this montage, because there's always like a little musical montage in every single episode. This is where we get the reveal that all these other monsters are here too. Like I was saying in the intro part, we've got a wolf man, we've got a ghost, we've got a Frankenstein's monster, a vampire, a witch, an executioner. I guess they consider a monster.
That's a monster now.
And so they're all like listening to the music, and at first the Beatles are scared, then they start kind of going along with it and continue playing while the monsters are kind of rocking out. And the monsters are also like clapping to the song, singing along with it. But then, and this is like, these episodes are super short. They're maybe like 6 minutes apiece. The Beatles just kind of turn into zombies and die, it looks like.
Yeah, the Beatles just die.
Yeah, like, and then the episode ends. Like, it was such a weird way to, I think they turn green and then they just kind of crumple over and their instruments keep playing. So I guess their ghosts are playing. I don't know exactly how to interpret what happened.
I have no idea. My thought process, well, and right before that too, the monsters started yawning and then they left.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess they got bored with the song. Like they didn't even get to finish the song before the monsters were over it. And they're just like, we'll see ourselves out.
Yeah.
And they went back to their bedrooms, because they all had these separate rooms. And then, the Beatles were just like, we have no audience. We are now dead. And then, they turn green. They fall to the ground, but the instruments keep playing.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's something I guess we need to say about the episodes that we've already said. Like, there's no real coherency between them. And it's just like, sometimes they just end and they're on like a cliffhanger and you just assume like, well, okay, that's it for that episode. Because the next one will pick up without any acknowledgement of what happened previously. It's like, hey, remember that time we turned into zombies and died and we're playing as ghosts?
Yeah.
No one says that. So
no one. Yeah. There's no there's no continuity.
Continuity. That's the word I was looking for.
That was the word. I was looking for that word earlier.
I was too. That's where I was like, I got the C part. So I was like, coherency. I didn't know. But anyway, yes, continuity. So the second one we watched was If I Fell, which was season 1, episode 2B. This was a Patreon pick by Epic Otter and Semantics, where John is kidnapped by Dr. Dora Florahide and Igor, both of whom want John's brain for their monster. This is another horror-themed one, another Frankenstein's monster one, and it came like right after that last one.
I guess they just came back to the same castle, but it's like a different castle. But it looks like they reused some of the background, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Some of the background looked identical, which is fine. I mean, that's not unheard of whatsoever in shows like this. I mean, Scooby-Doo did the same thing constantly.
Oh, yeah.
Reusing assets and things like that from production to, save money where they could. So it makes sense. The highest rated episode in this case was the first episode. So we did ask our patrons to pick 2 episodes for us for this episode. So the next 2 will both be Patreon picks, as Joseph mentioned this one.
So, like I said, Dr. Dora Florahide, we'll just say Dr. Florahide, she is waiting on Igor to bring her some brains, and he brings back John, like, unconscious on a little stretcher thing. She's like, what is this? I asked you to bring me, like, beetle brains. And he's like, well, this is John, and he's the brains of the Beatles, so here you go. Technically, this is right. And so she's like, all right.
Do you think any of the other Beatles were offended? You think... I mean, Ringo wouldn't, because who cares about Ringo? But do you think George or Paul were like, hey, now?
I feel like, well, I actually read that the Beatles wanted to basically keep as much distance from this show as they could. Only really in retrospect were they able to come back and watch the show and be like, well, it's stupid, but it's fun for what it is. So at the time, though, that it was shooting, like, they didn't care.
Yeah, exactly. I read an exact quote by John who did say that the show's bad, but so bad it's good.
Yeah, it's one of those. What do you think that Florahide was going to do with the Beatles' brains? Because she clearly wanted to make a human, use the human brain to make a mechanical human monster. So is she just going to make like, you're going to use Beatles' brains, like literal Beatles' brains to animate that monster?
I don't know. How smart are actual Beatles?
Maybe
this is something I haven't quantified. Are there any scientists out there that can let us know how smart is a beetle, like, comparatively?
Well, she did specify Beatles' brains, so maybe alone they're not very smart, but maybe if you mush a bunch of their brains together, they become intelligent. That's how brains work, right? Just mush them together.
I was just looking up real quick. I was trying to see like how smart Beatles are, and I found Mr. Entomologist James Nichols, and he claims that beetles are the perfect organism.
Oh, so she was onto something.
Well,
Well, no, I mean Dr. Florahide was onto something.
Oh, yeah. But so far he's mainly talking about how strong they are.
Well, that also tracks because she's putting it into a big monster.
Yeah, I don't know.
But she doesn't get these Beatles' brains. She gets a Beatles' brain, and so she decides to. It's not like she cuts it out and puts it into the monster. There's like a brain kind of transfer device that she hooks up to John's head and then hooks up to the monster's head. I'll just call it Florahide's monster instead of Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
And so after she transfers it over, because it's successful, the monster gets up and starts singing the song. Well, he just starts singing, period, one of the Beatles songs. The lab gets bum rushed by these like lady fans who are just in a mob, and they come in, they destroy the monster because they're just all over it. And she's super bummed. She's like, that was like $1 million and it just got destroyed. What do I do now? Okay, the musical montage. Oh, no. Sorry. I fast forwarded a little bit because the musical montage is John running from them so that he does not get his brain taken. And that's where If I Fell in Love with You like starts playing. And he's running around trying to get away from her so that she doesn't, transfer his brain.
Yeah, because you got that ghost pops out of a bottle, and you got those spiders that are in love and rubbing up all over each other.
Yeah.
During the song. And yeah, then you get your dancing, singing, Frankensteinish monster his dance was animated very strangely. It was some sort of weird version of flossing.
Yeah, maybe that's where it started.
I think this is where that Fortnite dance came from, was this show. It started here. It was just done a little bit differently where like your arms dislocate instead of going back and forth. They dislocate and then just reappear on other parts of your body. I don't know if anyone wants to try doing that. Try learning the original. That would be cool.
Did you ever have any friends growing up that they could dislocate their shoulders so they could put their arms behind their back and then bring their hands together and rotate their entire arms around to their front because they could like dislocate one of their shoulders? I knew like multiple people who could do that.
No, not on purpose. No. I dislocated my own shoulder a few times by accident.
Oh.
And one time I did it while I was asleep, like while I was in bed. I dislocated my shoulder, and that is how I woke up. And that was a bad
But
morning.
did you bring your hands together and rotate your arms all the way around to your front from your back? If not, I'm not impressed.
Obviously.
Okay. Well, good. That's all I was asking.
Obviously, I take that opportunity.
Yeah, you have to.
I was like, ow, God, this hurts. Oh, hang on. Let me do this real quick. Cool. Okay, take me to the hospital.
Gotta put this on TikTok. Okay.
So blinking cool.
Yeah, so we get the brain transfer, like I was saying. Dr. Florhide and Igor are both very charmed by this singing, dancing monster. So are those women who come in and destroy him accidentally.
All the like teen girls. Yeah.
Yeah, all the teen girls rushing in. She's like, my $1 million creation is ruined. And then John's like, well, how about next time? Like, because his brain didn't get like transferred over. I guess it just got like copied over because he's still fine in his normal body. And he gives her advice. Yeah. Like he gets up, he's like, hey, like, how about next time don't use the brain of a singer, use the brain of like a scientist or a scientific genius. And then she's like, where am I going to find that? And he's like, well, I'm something of a scientist myself, basically pulling the whole like Willem Dafoe thing. And then
right. God.
Yeah. That's what
I'm something of a scientist myself.
That's exactly what I thought of when he said that. And so they start chasing him and he's just like, oh my, why do I have to, this is where he also used blinking. He's like, when will I learn to keep my blinking mouth shut as he's running from them? And that's where the episode ends. So for eternity, he's being chased for his brain by Dr. Florhide. So the last episode we watched for today's show was Day Tripper, Season 2, Episode 6B. This was a Patreon pick by Fernando W. So thank you.
Thank you.
After watching the movie The Way Out Creatures from Planet Glom, the Beatles take a trip out into space with a beautiful woman who is actually an alien, taking them on a one-way trip. Oh, wow. This gives the whole plot away.
That's the entire plot.
That's it.
The episode.
Okay.
That's it.
We'll just walk through it. I do want to say, though, that they were really utilizing some of these songs in a very kid bop fashion, where it's like the real meaning of Day Tripper is not child appropriate because it's about someone who just is like casually doing drugs instead of, full-time doing drugs. So it's like, all right, well, how can we make this work for kids? Well, you know what? No, let's just take it to outer space.
Just have them go on a trip, but just for a day.
Yeah, he's tripping.
That'll work.
Yep.
He went on a trip.
This was the joke that I really liked because I thought it was kind of clever and it was pretty funny so they walk out of the movie theater and they're just like, I think Ringo asked like, what would you do if a big goopy globby creature from a flying saucer came? And John's like, well, I'd give it an autograph, which is probably what it came for. That kind of ties back to what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And then a spaceship actually lands, an alien comes out, and John's like, run and hide, it's a big, goopy, globby creature. So he was so brave before about that exact description, and then it comes out and he runs from it. And I liked that because it was a nice like tie-in to that immediately after he said it.
Yeah. And so it ends up being, beautiful woman.
Oh, she's like an Amazon. She is gigantic too.
Yeah. Yeah. Huge, beautiful woman. Gets their autograph and then is just like, hey, by the way, you want to go for a ride with me in my UFO? And they're like, yeah, sure. And she hands them 4 tickets and they don't read these tickets, but they have them. And then they go to some distant planet and they land, they get out onto this planet and I guess they can breathe the atmosphere. That's fine. And then she says something about how her dad is going to be so happy. And was it that she said she saved the universe from the Beatles?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I've done my job. I've saved the universe from the Beatles. Dad will be so pleased. It's like, wait, what?
That was weird.
What happened? We don't get any more explanation of what the Beatles were going to do.
No idea.
This is some kind of like dark future. This is like a Days of Future Past situation where she comes in, takes out the Beatles, or at least takes them 23 billion miles away. And she's like, okay, I've saved the universe because I've isolated them on this planet.
Yeah. I don't know. I might have a little bit of a theory about that.
Okay.
But well, I'll save it for a minute. I'll come back to that. We'll circle back. We'll circle back.
Okay.
But then she also reveals that she's actually not a beautiful woman. She's a big fuzzy creature with lots of arms, which she drops her guys and shows that. And then they notice that their tickets say one-way trip, and then she flies away. So
when they keep saying goopy, globby creature, I was thinking they were going to be like blob-like, but they're just like furry little like alien dudes. They're not goopy or globby, but they do have 17 arms, I guess, or she did.
They're really just fuzzy, you know?
Yeah, they're like little tribbles or whatever from Star Trek.
So yeah, she leaves. And I mean, they do what anyone would do when they are jettisoned on a remote planet. They start playing music.
Yeah, this is the music video part.
And when they do that, all these little alien start showing up, like these little pink weeples start showing up everywhere. You remember weeples? Do you remember those?
What is that?
They're like little cotton balls with like googly eyes on them, and they had the little flat feet that were stickers. Then you could stick them on stuff.
I don't remember that.
Seen a weeple?
No, this is a rabbit hole I got to fall down sometime. I need a weeple of my own.
There's also a dinosaur, and then there's also the Lorax's skinny homeless cousin at some point shows up.
Oscar the Lorax, yeah.
Oscar the Lorax. And then at the very end, there's these little astronaut girls that speak gibberish, and the Beatles are like, hey, we need to get back to Earth. And these little astronaut girls shove them in a little rainbow jewel that transports them back to Earth, and then the episode just immediately ends.
Oh, well, no, there's an extra part to it where they're, right when they transport there, they're in like weeple form, like they're the little fuzzy aliens, and then they talk to a cop back on Earth, and they give the exact same line. It feels like it was just copy pasted over. It's just like, we're from Earth. Can you help us get home? And then the cop runs off, and they transform back into the Beatles, and then it ends abruptly. It's like
The one I was watching, it just ended right when they showed back up. And I was like, oh, I didn't even get to see them as weeples.
That's something I do want to point out is like, this has never been released in any kind of video or not even VHS or digital format. The only place you can find it is like either buying some crazy bootlegs off of eBay, which I would not recommend because the quality is probably very questionable, or just finding like clips of it on YouTube, which is what I did.
Yeah, which is what I had to do.
Right. But the bad part about that is to keep it from getting pulled down due to copyright, the music parts are all muted out. Like there's literally like it'll cut to the music part and then there will be nothing. It'll be silence and you'll see everything happening, but no music. You just kind of have to know what's there and fill it in.
Right. Oh, man. Which made it a little bit easier for me.
Oh, true, because you're not a fan. You're not a Beatles fan.
I will go ahead and I'll lay it out right now, guys. I don't like the Beatles. I don't like their music. There it is. Oof. There you go. I'm showing my cards. I'm not a fan.
Your true colors.
What's funny though is like someone said something about this at work once. Like somebody was just like, hey, what's a hot take and that you stand by? And I was just like, I don't like the Beatles. And like later on, and no one else like agreed with me during that work meeting thing. They were just like, oh, why not? Blah, blah, blah. And I explained my reasons. I've got reasons. Mainly because that's how I was woken up every weekend as a child, was my parents blasting the Beatles as loud as possible because they thought it'd be funny to wake me up that way. And now it made me not like it because I associate it with strife as a child. Anyway, but then people would like message me through our like, you know, messaging app through work later. And like almost everybody in the department later would be like, hey, yeah, I don't like them either. I just didn't want to say anything. I'm like, all of y'all don't like the Beatles, but nobody wants to tell anybody. Like, what the heck?
I do like the Beatles, but I mean, it's not for everybody. And even liking the Beatles, the worst part is when you say you don't like something and then someone sends you like multiple songs and they're just like, well, listen to this song, see if you change your mind.
Yeah, listen to this one. Trust me, I have heard them all.
There are bands that I don't like for various reasons, but people always try to convince me that I'm wrong. I just haven't heard the right song. It's like, no, I just don't like the band. Leave me alone. But I do like the Beatles, again.
I've heard so many of the songs. Like I said, it was on repeat constantly as a kid. Didn't jive with it. Instead, I would ask my dad to play like Ozzy Osbourne or George Thorogood, or sometimes Toto. So anyway, that's where I was at.
For the longest time, I didn't like Meatloaf, the singer, for that same reason though, because my dad would play that constantly, either at home or in the car when we were going anywhere. Meatloaf was always on.
It can really taint things for you.
I've come to appreciate him now, but as a kid, no.
And here's the difference is I do appreciate what they did. I don't think they're bad. I just don't like the style of music. But I very much appreciate what they did for music itself, because we wouldn't have most of the stuff I do like if they didn't exist. So I have an appreciation for them. I just don't want to listen to them.
Yeah, and that's an important distinction. And it's fine. Yeah.
There is one song of theirs that I actually do kind of like. Do you have a guess as to which song it is?
Across the Universe.
No. It's a song that's quite different from a lot of their other stuff.
They have so many different songs. I'm not sure. What is it?
It was also liked by a famous psychopath.
Oh.
Which doesn't say great things about me, I guess.
Helter Skelter?
That is it.
Wow.
Yes. I actually really, really enjoy Helter Skelter. And here we go. Here's my conspiracy theory about this episode that we watched.
Oh boy.
This woman talked about how she saved the universe from the Beatles. What if this is an alternate reality where she removed the Beatles before they did Helter Skelter? Because if you look through all the episodes, there's like an episode for almost every single song the Beatles do, but there is no Helter Skelter. So what if her way of saving the universe was removing them from the timeline before they did Helter Skelter, so that Mr. Manson didn't get up to any of his antics and usher in what may have been, what if he hadn't done things, what if that branched us down the dark timeline we maybe find ourselves in to this day?
Maybe in that universe, in the better universe, the Bernstein Bears were still Bernstein and not Bernstein.
Maybe Sinbad did do Shazam back in the day, you know? Maybe there is a VHS of Shazam. Yeah, I think he did. He said on Twitter that he remembers doing that movie.
Really?
Now, I'm pretty sure he was trolling me, but he said he remembers. I'm going to believe it. I'm going to choose to believe it.
That's as good a conspiracy theory as any, I guess.
Yeah.
Since we get no other information on how she saved the universe, we'll just go with that.
That's the only one I can think of, is she stopped Helter Skelter, which is unfortunately the only one I liked.
Well, Chris, it looks like it's about time we sent our inner kids to England to listen to John, Paul, George, and Ringo live, and maybe grab us one of those adorable aliens to start an obvious E.T. or Mac and Me companionship with, then see what they thought of the show, The Beatles.
This cartoon was, well, I'm not really sure what was going on most of the time, but it did have lots of monsters and aliens and weeples in it, which was pretty cool, and music for old people.
I was already a fan of the Beatles' music, but now I find out that they're friends with monsters and have plans to conquer the universe one day? As long as you introduce me to Dracula, Wolfman, and Frankenstein's monster, I'm totally fine bowing down to my future Beatle lords. Turns out they can buy my love.
So, knowing you're a Beatles fan, I feel like maybe there's going to be a lot of things that you liked about this show. So tell me, what are some of the things that you did like about this cartoon?
Sure. As a Beatles fan, of course, I would have enjoyed hearing the music that I knew was there but couldn't hear because they had to mute it out on YouTube. But in my mind, it was playing. I could play it on the side and know what was happening at least. But so I appreciate that was there, at least in the authentic version of it. And even though the animation was kind of inconsistent throughout, I actually really did like the style that they went with of the characters. They were all recognizable, even though they were like super exaggerated. It was just kind of like caricatures of the Beatles. But I like that style that they did. And McFarlane Toys actually made like some really cool replica figures inspired by this series design. I would definitely pick that up, but they're crazy expensive because they're rare, of course, and collectibles. But I looked them up and they look pretty awesome.
I just want to tack on to that too. Is one of the things that I liked about this was the depictions of the characters themselves. I think they were really good. I think they were pretty funny. Like you said, they were caricatures, and I think that even visually, the personalities of each Beetle were pretty evident in their facial features and everything. And especially even the idea that they make Ringo the butt of every joke. Just looking at him, like you could tell that was his character archetype without them even saying anything. Just like the way he was drawn, that expresses itself. So I think that as far as the design of everything, they did an excellent job with this. I think it was really, really good. And I think that the personalities that they did give them fit really well too. Like it made for really good jokes around these characters as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They really did depict them probably in the best form that they could as an animated series, especially for kids. Just really kind of breaking down their personalities into really simplistic, stereotypical ones. I think that was very well done. I also appreciated how crazy their adventures actually were without worrying about continuity or even any kind of clear, defined ending for each episode. And I get mainly this was due to how short each segment needed to be because, like I said, they had to fit 2 of the actual episodes into each episode, as well as little sing-along music videos, which were just words showing, sing-along videos that were words showing as the lyrics were going by. And you're supposed to just sing along to this little video. And so fitting all of that in, yes, they couldn't have actually told like a completely coherent story from beginning to end while doing all that. I get that. But I actually think that worked in their favor in this case, since in most cases, a neatly wrapped conclusion would have just felt really forced for this show.
Yeah, I think one of the things I did appreciate about it that does go in line with that is that it would go into so many different genres. Like it would dance around with sci-fi and some really light horror, some fantasy stuff. Just they did whatever they felt like doing within the show. And I think that aspect of it was pretty cool. Just like pretty much anything was open for them to do. It didn't really matter. There's episodes where they go to different places in the world, like Egypt and different timelines and stuff like that. And it's just kind of like whatever they want to do. I admired that about the show, that they would just take on anything and anything was game. I thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
To lean into my dislikes, which the only thing I really have is that, and this goes against a little bit of what you said, I think, in that, like, sometimes I just felt like it was a little too all over the place, in that, nothing really made sense. And I mean, I don't know that anything was supposed to, I think that might have been part of the plan. We've talked before about how sometimes randomness works and sometimes it doesn't. A real good comparison is when we did Timon and Pumbaa, we talked about how the randomness in Tasmania worked really well and the randomness in Timon and Pumbaa did not. So we were comparing those two. In this show, I think it was hit or miss. I think sometimes it did and sometimes it didn't. And they just kind of like, I think the randomness of the episodes themselves, that the Beatles could end up in any situation, in any place, within any genre, I think that worked really well. I think the fact that they might throw any kind of other thing within that already random atmosphere or environment, sometimes I was just kind of like, man, they're really just going a little over the top here, and that doesn't make any sense to me. To the point where I'm like, okay, if I'm just going to take one example, when they're in that third episode we watched, when they're on that other planet and they establish all these aliens look like the little Weeple dudes, like, that's fine. I'm like, okay, this planet, Weeples, those are the alien dudes, cool things. And then we get a random dinosaur and then a random gross Lorax dude. And I'm like, I mean, it was kind of funny, but it was just like, it felt like they just threw whatever into the scene to fill the scene. And I just didn't really understand, because to me, it didn't really had a whole lot of the humor, like a whole lot of humor to it, or other than just the absurdity of like, wow, okay, that didn't make sense. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of, wow, that came out of nowheres for me. Aside from, just sticking with what they already had and building more with what they had already established, which I think would have gone farther for me. And I'm not saying that, they had to do this because that would have made their show successful. It was a success regardless. But just in my opinion, I would have liked it more if they had, played around a little bit more with the things that they established, to a point where I think for some of the randomness that did work was like when I told you that first episode when Ringo like shook his drum and a child fell out of it, like that cracked me up. But that was them utilizing what they had already built on, that they were practicing in this cramped space with all these people that won't let them do their thing. And then all of a sudden Ringo shakes his drum, this kid falls out. And I'm like, that's them using the tools that they've already established within their environment and using those to build the jokes and build the humor instead of like, whereas in that third episode, if they took that vein, it'd be like he shook his drum and like, I don't know, a giraffe fell out, a baby giraffe. Like it wouldn't make any sense, but that's kind of what that third episode did, is some of that stuff. So sometimes they did those things, sometimes they didn't. That's where my dislikes came in.
I'll give you that to a point. I want to bring us back a little bit to Timon and Pumbaa for a second, since that is the previous episode, because I don't think it's as severe as Timon's mom secretly being his friend Fred out of nowhere. It's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that severe.
Yeah, but I do get your point with the alien planet, and where it's like, if they had just stuck with these little Weeble aliens, then yeah, that would have made more sense than trying to throw everything at us, because it's almost like, if you think about the Taz episode, where this is just all like recalling different episodes that we just watched, with the Kiwi dimension, where it's like, yeah, that was super random, but it was all Kiwi stuff, and somehow they made that wacky thing make some sort of sense. And they didn't do that as well with the alien planet the Beatles visited in that third episode. So sure. Yes, I'll agree to a point. I don't think it was as bad as some things, as like the Timon and Pumbaa one was, but yeah, the randomness could have been more structured.
Yeah, I'll agree with that for sure.
So for me though, I don't want to focus on like some of the obvious flaws, because we've pointed some of those out. Like there are some not so great jokes and some hollow plot lines because the episodes are so short. And in episodes that we didn't watch, there's still, of course, going to be the not so great racial stereotypes of like the depiction of Chinese people or like tribal people or whatever. And that was just kind of like, it unfortunately was prevalent in those older cartoons. So I can't strike a show for something that was a product of its time based on those alone. But for me, the negative would have been the inconsistent animation that I kind of spoke about earlier. While I did like the design of the animation itself was pretty stiff and inconsistent at times, especially with the characters' faces. And that kind of goes to what you were talking about with Paul and George having very similar faces. It's like sometimes you either couldn't tell the difference, or it almost looked like their faces got switched or just off model and kind of warped. And there were other shows made around that same time, like the Jetsons and such, that we also recently watched, that were very clean. And even though the movement wasn't like all over the place, they were still able to make it work, and it looked much cleaner. And this show just felt kind of sloppy at times for the period, animation wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that too. I felt the same way. I don't really have much to add to that. I think you kind of nailed it.
Yeah. So what would you give this show overall? Not being a Beatles fan, but coming into this, I'm curious to hear your score.
Sure. Okay. So before I rate this thing, I just hope people can try to be proud of me, that I'm trying not to let my bias against their music affect my score of the cartoon. Though, I mean, to be honest, it's a huge part of it though, because the cartoon in itself, if we break it down, this cartoon was basically, the purpose was another vehicle for their music to exist in. Now, the music exists separately. So it would be unfair for me to judge this cartoon based on the music itself or my opinion of their music. But I am going in knowing that, this cartoon was made as a vehicle to showcase their music, especially to kids. But I'm really judging it on really everything else surrounding it, like how they're packaging this music, with the visuals, with the animation, with the designs, with the jokes, the humor, all that said. Like we talked about, the animation was kind of rough, though the designs were really good. It just wasn't consistent in its animation. And I mean, I can't hit it that hard just because it's not like it's the worst we've seen before, but it definitely could have used more fine detail and people paying attention to the animation side of it. And it's definitely not something to sit down and watch for a story or really anything that makes sense. And like we said, like we talked about earlier, the Beatles didn't even like it until years later. Or John came around in the 80s and started to like it at that point and said that it was so bad, it's good. But I mean, at the time, they didn't even like it. But with that in mind, I still think that there is some really cool things for it. And what I tried to do thinking about this is I'm like, ignore that this is about the Beatles. Let's pretend that it's a band I like and I'm putting their music into this animation and everything. How would I look at this based on that? And so with all of that said, with how it looks, how it presents, the jokes, which some fell flat, some didn't, all that kind of stuff, I'm going to give the Beatles 3 bowls of Blinken cereal out of 5.
Nice. So for me, while this show was far from perfect, obviously, I did find it fun, sometimes funny, even with the really crude jokes and jokes made more for kids. And at the very least, this was a soft intro to Beatles music for a younger audience, even though some of the songs probably shouldn't have been introduced to kids. But all that aside, overall, I'd give the Beatles cartoon 3.5 big bowls of Hard Day's Bite cereal out of 5. And honestly, if they ever do come out with an authentic box set, I'd probably get it at least for display purposes. And for real, if anybody can find me a reasonably priced set of those McFarlane toys, please hit us up and let me know, because I will purchase those things.
Yeah, I would say that though I'm sure those are probably really cool to have as like a collector's item. Like, I understand why they're probably so expensive, because I mean, for anybody that's a Beatles fan, I could see how that would be a really cool thing, especially being a Beatles fan and being a fan of animation.
Yeah, and I saw one set selling for like $600, and I was like, no, I can't do that. That is insane. But they do look so good. But not $600 good, not to me.
That made my fingernails bleed. You saying that. Fingernails don't have blood, but they're bleeding right now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much to whoever sent this in. I have a rough idea who it was, but I don't know for sure if it was you or not. But if you ever identify yourself, 1, I will try not to judge you for your taste in music. 2, I will give you credit for that. So if you do mess up, we will thank you on air once we discover your identity.
Yes, thank you, random person, and also thank you to the Patreon members who suggested these episodes to us, and for any who suggested episodes that we didn't watch this time around.
We had a lot to choose from this time. Everybody had really, really cool ideas for episodes to choose from. So we picked one that a lot of people overlapped on, and then from that, we picked another one that just sounded really out there, just a real odd one, being the alien
and
one.
It was.
So, yeah, it was. It definitely was. So yeah, thank you to everybody that, took some time to think about it, to look for episodes for us that we might be interested in, and to list those out on our Patreon. Really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Well, listeners, it looks like our milk supply is now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. And in 2 weeks, because Chris is going to be on vacation next week, we'll be watching
Angela Anaconda, suggested via Discord by Marvelous Mongoose. And this comes to us from the bottom of the list. I don't.
Why? Why the roar?
I don't know, because it's from the bottom. Ugh.
The bottom of the list. Roar.
It's reaching up from the depth.
The bottom sounds cool and dangerous.
Yeah, it's reaching up from the bottom of the depths of the list. You know?
Oh, man. Yeah, well, I don't, but I believe you. Sure.
Do you know anything about Angela Anaconda?
No, I've never heard of that show, but I do like Marvelous Mongoose. That's a cool name.
Yeah, I'm just going to tell you, bro, prepare to have some nightmares.
Oh.
That's all I'm going to tell you. Prepare for nightmares.
Okay, I'm not going to look it up then. I'm not going to look it up. I'm going to surprise myself with it and be ready for nightmares.
Yep, in 2 weeks, prepare for nightmares.
So once again, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
We'll see you in 2 Saturdays.
Presented by Nerdsloth.
A place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.